Duggar.
Broadcasting live from the KSHP studios in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. It's time to get on the right side of sports betting. It's time for the Odds Couple.
Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Odds Couple. This show is about sports betting. Good thing, because I'm a professional sports bettor handicapper. My name is Scott Pritchard. I'm joined, as always, by Brett Grant. How are you?
I've never been more excited, Scott. Not because I'm with you, because tomorrow is the opening day of the WNBA.
Wow.
I can't wait.
It doesn't get much better than that.
Exactly. I can't wait to watch the Washington Mystics.
I know you think I'm being facetious, but I actually bet
Tulsa
WNBA
Shock.
basketball.
I'm shocked.
I'm shocked at the shock
Wait,
of Tulsa.
That's the Tulsa Shock.
Right on.
You bet the WNBA.
Totals. I bet WNBA totals.
Big limits, I'm sure.
Well, no, actually just the opposite. I mean, they really limit and handcuff what you can do. Only a select few places here in Las Vegas will actually take any action. And as long as you bring it up, a few short years ago I was at the Stratosphere, and oftentimes they'll limit you to a nickel, $5.50 to win $500 when betting totals. So I stepped up and I wanted to bet, I believe it was the Phoenix Mercury playing the LA Sparks at the time, if I remember right. 119 was the total. Every place had 118. I had an opinion on the under. I said $5.50 to win $500 under 119. They said, we won't take that. They called over the supervisor. I said, only $300. They said, no, $100. $100.
The casino is going to close down over your $100 bet.
$100 bet, because they realized the only people betting WNBA totals are either sick, degenerate, compulsive gamblers or more sharp, professional, wise guy bettors. The only people betting WNBA totals. Only a select few places will allow you to bet. So I bet it, and it moved. It's one thing, I usually move the line a half point and a half. 2 solid points on a $100 bet. Isn't that crazy? I mean, you could go.
Nuts.
I don't do any table games. I've been in Las Vegas for the past 19 years. I don't do any gambling outside of professional sports betting. Now, word on the street has it there are 2 games of skill, live poker and sports betting. But in this case, I mean, I don't know anything about craps. But I do know if you went over to the craps table at the same casino and bet to pass, not to pass, to come, not to come, whatever it is, they would let you bet up to $10,000 one roll of the dice.
Right.
Because there's a small edge. Even though it's 49% advantage casino, they know that they are getting the best of it, and they will let you bet up to $10,000. Yet, to bet a WNBA total, $100 at the Stratosphere.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I should write a book.
I think you might have some material for it.
I have about 10 books in my head. It's a matter of putting these books into text form and making it happen.
Now, a little trivia, do you know all the nicknames of the teams of the WNBA? Are you
if I really actually thought about it, but see, that's totally irrelevant. It's kind of like,
curious.
Well, it's kind of.
I could name about 3. That's
well, I can tell you that it's irrelevant, because it's also, if you're into fantasy sports, fantasy football, you might want to know who the second string left tackle is. To me, I don't care. I just need to know who the starters are. But I know too many guys who are well versed and can tell you everything there is to know from a sports fan standpoint.
Right.
That doesn't mean squat when it comes to sports betting. So you're listening to the Odds Couple on KSHP AM 1400 Radio Las Vegas, live and worldwide on Vegas Video Network. Studio line is open at 702-221-7283. Live chat up and running. Keep those live chat questions, comments coming. My name is Scott Pritchard. I'm a professional sports bettor handicapper featured on my site, pritchardspicks.com. Be sure and check that out, because some of the information is free. Some of the information you do have to pay for. Also, I'm featured on VegasInsider.com, have been for quite some time. The plays are time-stamped and documented. We have about 1 million views per day on VegasInsider.com. Also, Tim Donaghy, former NBA official, reached out to me about a month ago, asked me to get dialed in on his site, refpicks.com. That's refpicks.com. Let's get started with What Say You. NBA playoffs continued. Last night, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1, Miami Heat at home against the Indiana Pacers. Now, the line on this game was 7.5, bet up to 8. Indiana Pacers fared well against the Heat during the regular season. That was then. This is now. Different animal, different game, different season altogether. But man, oh man, did the Heat have trouble against the Pacers. It went OT, overtime. The Heat won on a last-second shot by LeBron James, 103-102. What say you?
Well, it was a very good game. It was a seesaw affair. You had some some unsurprising, or some surprising performances in the game, specifically from Birdman, Anderson for the Miami Heat, who had a terrific day for them. You had guys, superstars in foul problems. You had Paul George with a great night, David West with a great night. And you had, of course, LeBron being LeBron, and I thought Dwayne Wade played real well, although he fouled out in the game. But Chris Anderson had to be the story of the game, a guy who averaged 7 points a game, was 7 for 7 from the floor last night, a perfect night for him with 16 points. He was even 2 for 2 from the free throw line, and that was, you really can say, the difference in the game. If it wasn't for his performance, the Pacers win that game, and they win it going away.
Birdman to the rescue. What a shocking surprise. I mean, we
he's
know
hard
that
to look at, isn't he?
He is. It's pretty tough. I mean, I envision the guy when he's 85 with those tattoos. It's like, do you not have any mirrors in your house?
Right. Well, the big advantage we talked about was that the Pacers have a big height advantage in the game, and you're thinking their points in the paint would be a big advantage for them, or their rebounding. They did out-rebound the Heat by, I think, 5 rebounds, but the Heat scored 60 of their points in the paint versus the Pacers only scoring 48 points in the paint. And that was an opposite of what we thought was going to happen in the game.
See, that was a surprise because, I mean, the Pacers, they're a team, they like to pack it in. They have Hibbert inside. He does a great job defending the basket. This team is a good rebounding team, and they bring the energy and the effort every night. So I was a little surprised as well that the Heat outscored the Pacers in the paint 60-48. I mean, that's significant. 6 baskets, 12 points.
No, it is, and it was all Birdman to me. It was all, Hibbert had some foul problems, and we could talk about where he was at the end of the game and why he wasn't on the floor, and we'll address that a little bit later on. But, free throw advantage went to the Pacers, which is not common for a road team to have more free throws than a home team. And it took a LeBron James layup to bail out the Heat, and he had triple-double, and you're saying, boy, that was pretty easy for him to get to the basket to win the game last night. But overall, I think the Pacers played very well, and I think it's the kind of series you're going to see with a lot of tight games like that.
I wonder. I really do. I mean, great opportunity for the Pacers to steal Game 1 last night. The Bulls did that in Game 1 against the Heat in the previous round, and yet the Heat woke up and won 4 consecutive games. So it's kind of like the Memphis Grizzlies, man. You have an opportunity to knock off the Bullies. If you don't get it done, it's going to be a long – I mean, I'm not convinced just because the Pacers played them extremely tough last night. It was a photo. Could have went either way. You really need to win those 50-50 games. They didn't get it done. I just don't see how the Pacers have any shot. This series – that's right, I'm going to say it. This series is over. What say you?
Well, I think it's probably over as well from the standpoint of, again, somebody's got to beat the Heat 4 times. And – when you have an opportunity to win a game like you did last night and it slips away, that might have been one of your games that you had to be able to win. Although it was a miracle 3-point shot to get the game into overtime anyway, I thought.
Well, you talk about Birdman. Here's a surprise. We know he defends, he rebounds, but 7 for 7? Are you kidding me? This guy 16 points last night. I mean, that, to me, was a big surprise, and it took that kind of heroic effort for the tattooed man. Otherwise, they wouldn't have won.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And he was terrific, 7 of 7, and he took it. I mean, Roy Hibbert had a nice day as well, but there was key spots where he wasn't on the floor, or there was just nice, timely offensive rebounds from the Birdman as well on a LeBron James miss, for example, where he had a tap-in dunk, or a nice pass where the defense collapsed to LeBron and he was all alone for a lay-in or a dunk. It wasn't like he was stepping out making 12-foot jump shots. Everything was right around the basket. But that's surprising when you have a guy like Roy Hibbert who's right there to defend that.
That's the difference between you and me, Brett. I mean, you're too nice.
You look
you're
like
too
the
kind.
Birdman.
I feel like the Birdman. I do not eat like a bird, however.
No, that's true. I had lunch with you yesterday. That's correct.
We're putting Graziano's Pizza out of business. It's probably just a coincidence whenever I go to these places for the lunch buffets. It's probably just a coincidence. Please tell me it's a coincidence that every time I go a week later that the price goes up.
Well, it's like one of the famous comics says, it's all you can eat, not eat at all.
Well, no one told me.
Exactly. Hey, we do have a live chat question from Troy, who asks, given, Scott, that you are a full-time sports bettor, how many days a week and hours a day do you spend analyzing the games that you might wager on? And based on that, what would you calculate that your hourly rate would be?
Well, I think that's somewhat of a linear question. I mean, I can tell you that I know you're looking at me like, what does linear mean?
I didn't like my geometry class, yes.
You might understand, Troy. First of all, I appreciate the live chat question. The question is, how much time do I put in day to day as a professional sports bettor? And then how does that equate to an hourly rate? I never, ever trade hours for dollars. That's a quick way. It's the easiest way to go broke. I might as well have a job, J-O-B. Job stands for just over broke. So I work for myself. I do my own work. And as my good buddy Dink, featured in the movie Lay the Favorite starring Bruce Willis's Dink, he talked about he spends up to 70 hours a week handicapping games, getting the best of it. And he flat out said he has always been impressed with me because I have other projects, but I'm a winning player and have been for the past 30 years. Not that I always have a winning day or a winning week or a winning month, but it's very rare that I'll have a losing season. And fortunately, I have not had a losing year. Knock on wood.
That's for Micah, by the way, I think.
Is that what it is? Okay, that's why it sounds kind of okay.
Let
yeah,
me
to get back
this.
to, I do want to address Troy's question because, again, my personal opinion is in terms of what are you making per hour, I don't care what that is. I look at the bottom line. To me is the bottom line. Anything that I can delegate and outsource $10, $20, $30 an hour for, my time is so valuable. Anthony Padilla and I get into this argument each and every week because he is a fan and he watches as many games as possible. I know professional sports bettors who do watch games. I try to minimize how many games I watch. I strictly look at the numbers, dissect box scores, and I'm constantly reading. So I do not have the time, Troy and the rest of our listeners and viewers, I don't have time to spend 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day
watching.
Well, no, getting information. And then, now I'm going to watch games from 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock Las Vegas time. There are exceptions because I do, with football season, I mean, I'll have 8 games on at one time in my house, in my office. They're all muted. I'm watching one eye on the computer screen and one eye on 8 games going on at one time. And that's because I like to do a lot with second half betting when it comes to football.
Right.
But as Dink says, I mean, 70 hours a week just for him. So if you have a full-time job, now I have multiple businesses, but I had no businesses. In Las Vegas, when I came out in 93, I spent 10 years and I did nothing but bet sports professionally to the point where I would take 3 months off, June, July, August every year, and travel. But I took my winnings eventually and I opened up multiple businesses, but businesses that I can outsource, delegate most of the work to where I can pay someone else $10, $20, $30 an hour because my time, it's infinite. As far as money doesn't make you rich, your ideas make you rich. So, yeah, I find you can create money just as easily as you can.
Let me ask you a follow-up to Troy's question. Let's take a regular full slate of Major League Baseball, 15 games, right? So if you're looking at the games and deciding on which games you want to wager on, I'm going to assume you're not analyzing or spending a lot of time on all 15 games. Maybe you'll look at each one of them, but you're instantly throwing some out because you're looking for an edge, and you're looking at – just give me an idea of the process, how in a given day – part of the baseball grind, that's the marathon season, how much time are you spending in a given day?
It starts the night before. For instance, and there's a great example with this when we get to my right side with the Angels taking on the Royals. Last night I played the game under 9, and we know 9 is a key number, 9 under 15 cents. Today it's 8.5. Okay, so the value has already been lost. So in good faith, I cannot release that game. I can only tell you where my money is, and so it starts the night before when the opening lines come out for the following day's baseball. And I'll look for disparity. Okay, if you do nothing else, and Dink and I talk about this in my sports betting seminars on the Strip 2 to 3 times a year at Harrah's Hotel Casino. Opening weekend for pro football, I'll be doing a one-day sports betting workshop, how to make money betting sports. The idea with these workshops is you can learn from your mistakes or you can learn from mine. I've been doing it for 30 years. Dink has been doing it for 40. And it's conducive to business. I mean, successful people don't do things a little bit different than the layman. They do things oftentimes completely opposite. And the same rules and laws apply with professional sports betting. We don't do things a little bit differently. More times than not, it's completely different. And I talk to sports bettors every single day. And they come to me with opinions and ideas, and 90% of them are just, I respect their opinion because it's their opinion and you don't know what you don't know, but it's completely wrong more times than not. And I simply say, where did you hear that? And they'll tell me their neighbor told them, who is a sports fan but does not bet professionally. And I simply say, never take advice from a trailer park manager unless you want to be a trailer park manager. You always have to consider the source.
Right.
So first and foremost, I always look at the opening number. FTM in business as well as in professional sports betting. FTM, follow the money. The people moving that number, Joe Public is not betting baseball, football, basketball the night before. He's on his couch having a beer, watching the games that he already bet. Once the games start, I have no control over anything. So I'm already thinking ahead.
Moving along.
Of course, and I'm thinking about tomorrow's action. But that's also why I would say 70, 80, 90% of the time when I make a bet the night before, when I wake up the next day, it's already moved my way. So I always feel good. I don't, it might sound counterintuitive. It doesn't matter if I win or lose. If I'm doing the right thing and I'm getting the best of it, a half point and a half the best of it, or I'm getting a key total under 9, the game tonight could lose 10-zip, but would you rather bet under 9 or under 8.5? The only number that can hurt me is 10.
Right.
9 is a push. Fine line between winning and tying, winning and losing, winning and tying.
As opposed to the 8.5 where 9 beats you as opposed to 10. It takes an
right,
extra
9,
2 runs
exactly.
to beat you versus
exactly.
1 run beating you.
So the first thing I look at is the opening numbers. I look for a little bit of disparity, and then I look for just one place, one time, whether it be in the islands or in Las Vegas at the sports books. Now they do limit you, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why they limit what you can bet on WNBA totals, because it's beatable. Okay, there's a reason why they limit what you can bet overnight games, because it's a beatable proposition. Now, there also has to be a reason why most sports books will limit you to a nickel on totals as opposed to 3,000 to 5,000 on a side. Now, I have opinions on sides, but I tend to find more value in totals. So for me, everything has to be nickels and dimes, because if I'm betting the limit on sides, it doesn't matter what I do with totals.
Gotcha.
So to each their own. It's your money. Respect your money. But it's true. The more you know, the more you grow. That's why I'm round.
Exactly.
Hey, you don't have to be so quick to agree.
Well,
this is the Odds Couple on KSHP AM 1400 Radio. Troy, we appreciate the live chat question. I don't have a computer in front of me. Scott Whitney, the executive producer, does. Brett, I'm glad that any comments, questions, feel free to
queries,
jump in at any time. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So we're live and worldwide on Vegas Video Network. The studio line is also open if you want to talk sports, or if you have a specific question on sports betting. 702-221-7283. I'm here Monday through Friday. Brett is with me Monday through Thursday. Every Friday, I'm with Anthony Padilla. Let's talk hockey, something that I don't generally bet, but I do want to preface that, Brett, by saying if there's a total on a hockey game and it's 5.5 under 40. Mm-hmm. If I can see or steal a 5.5 under 25, 15 cents the best of it, I will blindly bet it. It goes back to something I've always said. I bet numbers, not teams. I bet numbers. I never get emotionally attached to a specific team or, unfortunately, to a specific wife.
How many are you up to now?
2.
2-time loser?
Two-time.
Okay.
Well, I'm a 2-time loser. They are 2-time winners for drop kicking my lame ass to the curb.
So they've hit the lottery a couple of times.
That's right.
That's good for them. Did somebody hit the Powerball over the weekend? Because that was pretty big.
I don't know. I've never played.
They did. Okay. Well, Scott Whitney back there is. Yesterday was my day of talking to everybody on the planet named Scott. I got a little confused yesterday.
That's right. We had lunch for, 3 hours?
Yeah, I watched you eat lunch for 3 hours.
Well, I think that was because it took me a while because I was doing all the talking.
Yeah. Well, I was having the Dean Martin lunch, and you were eating the entire buffet.
I'm thinking it was because you are too much of a gentleman, and you realize that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you know that you should listen twice as often as you speak. But I missed that memo.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you'll learn more. Keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut, right?
That's
why
heard.
I'm a little thin.
Silence is golden, they say, whoever they are.
That's a good point. Well, the 3 hockey games tonight. Which is odd because we have the NBA can't find a way to play a game on Thursday, and the NHL says, let's all play on the same day. So I'm not sure which strategy is better, but probably the NBA, since they get more viewers than the NHL does, might have it figured out a little bit better. Boston plays the Rangers today. The Bruins lead that series 3-0. Game 4 tonight at Madison Square Garden. The Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings play Game 4 of their series tonight. The Red Wings lead that series 2-1. And the San Jose Sharks and the LA Kings play Game 5 tonight in Los Angeles, where the Stanley Cup champs and the Sharks are tied 2 games apiece. The home team has won all 4 games in that particular series. So, to me, when you talk about totals, the Rangers series right now, looking at current lines, the over-under is 5, shaded to the under, open -120, now -140, most places in town. And the Blackhawks and Red Wings open 5 under -120, still pretty much holding steady. There is a -15 at one spot in town. So if you were going to play that particular game, you're going to go to the -115 spot to make that play versus everybody else having it at -120, as an example of you looking for a number.
I am, but I'm not going. If I'm getting 5 cents the best of it, it does not warrant a bet. A, 2 things. 1, I have to have a strong opinion, and B, I will blindly bet a total based on a number, but it has to be 15 cents the best of it. So if it's 5.5 under 40, and I can get 5.5 under a quarter somewhere, and it does exist, especially those obscure sports.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I love betting.
I think highlight is an obscure sport. Hockey's not necessarily obscure. Come on. Help me
no
out
one
here.
bets hockey.
That's amazing.
Dink bets it. Yeah, Dink and everyone in Canada. But hardly anyone. I've talked to any sportsbook supervisor. They will tell you the same thing, which I just now thought of something. Eva Futch, the sweetheart of a lady, the widow of the late, great boxing legend trainer Eddie Futch. I was talking to Eva on the air maybe 10 days ago, and I asked her what she knew about sports betting and odds, and she said she didn't know much. And I felt like saying, you'd make a great ticket writer. You'd fit right in.
Fit right in.
With all the other robots who are incapable of thinking on their own. What's that?
She was Swedish, correct?
Yeah, she's from Sweden. Big ABBA fan. Oh, no, wait, that's me.
That's you. But Sweden won the World Hockey Championships last week as well. The entire country was celebrating except for Eva.
Is that right?
She didn't realize
Eva,
that.
Las Vegas.
Exactly. The other game, by the way, the Sharks and the Kings, the total in that game is 4.5, but the over is -135 pretty much across the board. Now, obviously, we talk about the number in football, 3 critical, 7 critical, baseball 7 and 9, obviously 5 the critical number in hockey, because if a game gets to 2-2, which is a very common occurrence in hockey, that game is obviously going over to a 4.5 total. So that's why you got to pay a lot of juice if you want to go under that particular number.
Well, most totals in hockey, if I'm not mistaken, are 5.5. They'll shade it one way or the other, and everyone knows that's blatantly obvious that 5 is a key number in hockey. The only thing I'll say is if it's 4.5 or 5 under 40 or 50, it tends to be a 1-zip 2-1 score, consistent with what we've said before in a football game, in a college game. If the total is 84,
right,
it's going over. It's been proven it's about a 58-61% winning proposition. Conversely, if a total on a football game is ridiculously low, 30.5, bet the under.
Let me ask you one more thing before we go on to the next topic. When it comes to football or baseball, do you handicap weather into it? Like I know some people do. Is that a factor for you?
It is, but the line reflects that. So weather, umpires.
Well, if you know it's going to be cold in Cleveland for the Browns and Steelers game in mid-December, that's one thing. But a lot of times when you have a team that with a high total of 80-something, and let's say Baylor's playing Oklahoma in a college football game, you might get a total like that. But wind can be a huge factor when it comes to teams passing.
Well, wind, you would never see a total that high. I don't care if Baylor is playing Sisters of Mary. You're not going to get that high of a total. But wind is a factor. What people don't realize is the adverse weather neutralizes talent. Adverse weather neutralizes talent. But in regards to the total, if you have a hurricane that's coming through Miami, or if you have wind chill, cold weather, snow flurries, fog coming through Soldier Field in Chicago, the line will automatically drop. So it's very important, as we've said a million times on my show, be on the move early or against it late. 37 is the most common total in a pro football game. You need to know this if you bet totals. If you don't bet totals, then it's meaningless. But it's amazing to me how many people I talk to week in, week out at the sports book. Do you bet totals? Yes, I love totals. What's the most common total? They don't have a clue.
It's a good point.
I mean, most people understand that 3 is the most common side, followed by 7, 4, 6, 10. Those are key numbers. But totals, 37, 41, 44, 38, 45 in that order. 37, 41, 44, 38, and 45. The sports books know this. The odds makers know this. It's your job to know this. And it's critically important because there are so many different ways to get to 37. So if you like a game under and it's 37 and it's moving to 36.5, steal the only 37.5. Long term, it's very, very significant. Everyone else is going to push. You are going to win. Now, it's 37.5 at one place. Everyone else has 37, and you see it start to move to 36.5. Pounce on that 37.5, and then you'll see that, oh, wow, adverse weather, Chicago. That's why it's coming down. It closes, say, 34. Now find a 33.5 and bet over. You have 34, 35, 36, 37, a 4-point middle projected low-scoring game, and you win both sides of the equation. It's called middling.
Right. It's interesting because I don't think a lot of people thought of that on a total. Now with the rules changing in football from the standpoint of obviously it's benefiting the offense more. We don't see a lot of 37s unless it happens to be two great defensive teams or bad weather. We're seeing totals now in the upper 40s, even into the low 50s in NFL games.
You see, it's very rare that you'll see more than 1, 2, 3 games with a posted total of over 50.
Right.
The Patriots are playing, yes. If the Falcons are playing, yes, because they are high-scoring teams with questionable defenses, right, on their best day. Those 3 teams especially. But 37 is still the most key total. There's so many different ways to get there. Forget which team gets there. It's 37 zip, 34-3, 31-6, 30-7, 28-9, 27-10, 24-13, 23-14, 21-16, and the most common score, 20-17. Now let's break it down even more because I do a lot of exotic wagering and I do a lot with first half, second half betting, especially in football. Critically important to understand that 20 is the key total in a second half or a first half. You never want to be under 19.5, and you never want to be over 20.5. Now, some people might think that 21 is a key total for a half.
Right.
It's not. It's not, because when was the last time only 3 touchdowns, no field goals? So 23 is more prevalent than 24.
Right.
20 is much more prevalent than 21. 19 is a dead number. For the most part, I should say 18 is. There is no difference between 17.5 and 18.5. Zero. But there's a huge difference between say 2.5, 3.5. Right. Think about it. The only way you can get to 18, which is a dead number, 6 field goals. No touchdowns, only 6 field goals.
Or a missed extra point, or somebody goes
well,
for a 2-point
but you can never forecast that. Right. So I mean, it's extremely rare. So there's no difference between say 17.5, 19, 17.5, 18.5. Huge difference between 20, 20.5, 20, 19.5. 23, key number. 24, yes, but 23 is more prevalent than 24.
Interesting stuff.
When you break things down, right. First half, second half. And the other thing is this 1 point alone will make you a lot of money long term. This has been documented during the history of the league. All right, people pay $600 to come to my sports betting seminars at Harris to get this information.
I've got $6
that I'm giving to you for free that you'll forget as soon as we leave the studio.
37.
But I'm going to share it with you anyway.
37.
No, I'm talking about something else now. We've already moved on.
Oh, I'm still stuck on 37.
And that is when you have a double-digit favorite in the National Football League,
Right.
and they have let's say a team is favored by 11 points and they're up 24-zip at halftime. The rule of thumb is to play the under in the second half. And the reason is the team that's down 24-zip, in the first half we know that both teams are trying to score.
Right.
But in the second half, the team that's up 24-zip, they already have enough points, so they are not looking to score. They're playing the clock, so they're looking to run the ball, keep the clock moving, not get anyone hurt, start looking forward to next weekend's game. The team that's down, they've already proven that they're inept on offense, and so what happens is, let's say now it's 31-10
Right.
in the fourth quarter, 7 minutes to go, you're down 21, you're facing a 4th and 7 at the opposition's 10. You're not going to kick a field goal because now you'll be within 18 instead of 21.
Right.
You have to go for the touchdown,
And
which is
the odds are
it's a low percentage play.
Right.
It's a low percentage play.
Right.
And then what happens is the team that's up 31-10, they take over 90 yards away. They'll run out the clock with
Right.
8 minutes to go because they'll pick up 4 first downs, and now they're up to the 50 and the game's over.
Good
So
point.
that has been long-term a proven winner. Now the sportsbooks get stuck. They get caught with their pants down because they are aware of this, and they'll shade it a little bit, but it only takes one place to get a good bet, a good number for a second half total, because they can't do it too much. They subject themselves and open themselves up to be middled, which is the last thing they want.
Right. Do you tend to play in the NFL more first half totals and second half totals and not game totals because of that potential scenario?
Again, having commitment issues, I would rather tie up my money in a baseball game for 5 innings instead of 9.
Okay.
An hour and a half instead of 3 hours. Because I know I try to eliminate as much randomness as possible. Same way in football, it really depends on where the value is. Obviously, if I'm seeing 137.5 and I have an opinion on the under and it's 37, now it's going to 36.5, I'll bet it. But more times than not, I'm looking to break it down even more. I'm looking for the best number for the first half, and I do a lot for football with second half betting. I do a lot with totals.
Well, with regards to baseball, we talk about with starting pitchers, but if you have a team like the Angels, who you know has a horrible bullpen, a lot of their games are going over the total after the 5-inning mark, so you're not necessarily, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not necessarily going to play those games for 5 innings for a total of maybe 4.5 or 5 versus a full game 8.5 or 9.
If I like the over, I'll bet it for the game
Right.
on dead over teams like the A's or specifically the Angels, because two things working for you:
They can hit and they have bad.
Well, they have weak starting pitching, but they also have a weak bullpen. And then the other thing you have working for you is outside shot of the game going extra innings. You get not only free baseball, but you can have anywhere from 1 to 5 extra runs scored.
Sure.
So if you like the over, bet it for the game. If you like the under, shop, grind, find the best low number for the first 5 innings. And because the worst case scenario, let's just say that you bet over under 4 and it's 2-2, it's a push, it's a wash, you get your money back, it's no bet. Because I'm a sharp handicapper, but I have no idea who's going to be pitching in the 6th, 7th. Yes, I know who my closer is, and I know who your closer is, but I don't know who's going to be pitching in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. I'm gambling. I don't like to gamble.
I got you. Okay.
This is the Odds Couple on KSHP, AM 1400 radio, live and worldwide, simulcast on Vegas Video Network. Studio line open, 702-221-7283. Live chat up and running. I'm a professional sports bettor handicapper featured on my site, Pritchard'sPicks.com, VegasInsider.com, and RefPicks.com. We're going to introduce a segment called Spin to Win. That's right. The objective professional sports bettor thinks with their head, bets with their head, never their heart. Check your emotions at the door. We have Game 2 Eastern Conference Finals taking place Friday night. The Miami Heat 7-point favorite against the Indiana Pacers. The Miami Heat, they're up 1-0 after winning last night in overtime, 103-102, compliments of a LeBron James layup. I'm going to be forced to make an argument for one team or the other, depending upon what the wheel says. Brett automatically has to take the opposing side. The professional sports bettor knows that you have to be able to make an argument for both teams before you step up to make a bet. What do I have? Who do I have? Can you read it?
You have a burning campfire.
I'm guessing that would be the Miami Heat.
And the funny thing is there's a boot above that is trying to stomp it out.
Why don't you just tell me who I have?
I think you have the Heat.
Okay, Miami Heat. All right, talent seems to win this time of year. The cream rises to the top. The only question is, how many points will the Miami Heat win by? I think the fact that they had a good scare in Game 1 presents an opportunity for the Heat minus the 7. I would look to steal a 6.5. I realize that points mean more than opinions, but in this case, I'm a dog player, but I think the Miami Heat are the better team. They're at home. They realize they were pretty fortunate, and they're going to have to bring it. Plus, history has a way of repeating itself. In the last round, they lost Game 1 to the Chicago Bulls and then steamrolled them 4 consecutive games. So I would suggest that the Miami Heat at home minus the points presents some value. Ring up the ringer, see the cashier.
Well, I get the other side. I get the points on a team that probably should have won Game 1 in the Pacers and got the money in Game 1. And now if we go by the zigzag theory again, the Pacers lost Game 1 on the court. You're thinking there might be some adjustments going through. And not to over talk about the zigzag theory, but it's 12-1 this year in Game 2 in every series so far. So the next series coming up, Game 2 tomorrow night. I'm getting 7 points with a team that lost Game 1 again, but not so much that. There's Roy Hibbert. There's how well they played in Game 1. They felt like they left one on the table. I'm looking at a team that's going to come back out with a great effort in a spot here in Indiana, and I'm getting 7 points. I like my position there with the Pacers.
Interesting how the NBA has scheduled these games. I mean, the Miami Heat and Pacers both well rested going into last night's game. I mean, the Grizzlies and the Spurs have not played since Tuesday. They didn't play yesterday. They're not playing tonight. They're not going to play tomorrow either. In fact, Saturday during the day, go to the beach. We're going to schedule the game late night, Saturday night, 6 o'clock Las Vegas time. What's up with that?
You're not allowed to swim on game day, though.
You're not?
No sex, no swimming, no surfing, no nothing.
Is that right?
You just got to have a nice, big, healthy carb lunch and be ready to rock and roll for the game.
You missed your calling, man. You should be a coach.
Exactly.
This is The Odds Couple on KSHP AM 1400 Radio, live and worldwide on Vegas Video Network. Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant. We're going to take a commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you ever thought you should be on the radio? Or have you considered doing an online video show or podcast? If so, now is your only chance to do both at the same time. KSHP and the Vegas Video Network have teamed up to provide the only multi-camera broadcast quality video and live radio simulcast in Las Vegas. And instead of having your show played at some ungodly hour, the KSHP Vegas Video Network partnership is producing shows that play from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Imagine having your own radio show broadcasting to the entire Las Vegas Valley, and combine that with an online presence that is viewed in all 50 states and 150 countries, both live and on demand. This is a first and an outstanding opportunity to give voice to your business, your ideas, and your talent. If you'd like your own show on KSHP and the Vegas Video Network, contact us today at 221-1200. That's 221-1200.
Happy Thursday. Welcome back to The Odds Couple. Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant. We would love for you to reach out to us on the show. Simply email us at oddscouple@vegasvideonetwork.com. That's oddscouple@vegasvideonetwork.com. Also, web-based voicemail is a feature here. We would love to hear your voice on our show. Go to VVN, right-hand side, red bar, click there, middle of the page, green bar, hit start recording. Live chat up and running. We already fielded a question from Troy. Appreciate the questions, comments, and concerns. Now, if you do miss us live, no worries. Reach out to us. Vegas Video Network, iTunes, YouTube, Roku. You don't have to look far, friends, to find frustration when it comes to sports, namely sports betting. Are you kidding me?
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier, but, I mean, you go back to last night's game, and you wonder, one of the reasons why the Indiana Pacers lost the game last night is the coaching decisions of Frank Vogel down the stretch to leave his big 7-footer on the bench with a 1-point lead against Miami, 2 seconds on the clock. They get the ball to LeBron James at the foul line, and LeBron gets to the rim and lays in the game-winning layup. And you're saying, where is my guy at the rim to defend this? And I understand he went with a smaller lineup. He went with a switching defense as opposed to getting Roy Hibbert too far away from the basket to have to guard Chris Bosh and have him make a jump shot. But you cannot give up a layup. So are you kidding me? If you didn't want to have Hibbert in the game for that reason, I can understand the decision, but you can't let anybody get to the rim, much less the best player in the league get to the rim. So Frank Vogel and the Pacers, are you kidding me?
I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised that Hibbert wasn't in the game, knowing that he has everyone's. I mean, you can afford to gamble on defense, perimeter defense, knowing that Hibbert, the defensive stud horse, has your back. I mean, he is a great shot blocker, very good defender, and in this case, worst case scenario, you force the opposition, a la the Heat, to shoot a jump shot.
Which percentage-wise is much less than 50% versus a layup, which is higher than 65, 70%.
Plus, if you drive to the basket, it's reasonable. You could get fouled, right? And one free throw ties it, two wins the game. But anything, I mean, I have so much respect for the Indiana Pacers for what they've done up to this point. It's unfortunate for them that a blunder or perhaps a bad decision by the coach to have Hibbert not play during that time, it's mind-boggling to me.
Well, and then you look at the defense on LeBron James in that situation where the guy got in front of him or to the side of him and gave LeBron the angle to get to the lane. You got to keep LeBron in front of you. Make him shoot a fadeaway 15 to 17-foot jump shot, not let him get you know, your defense strategy might have been perfectly fine, but the execution was horrible that you let a guy get to the basket, and there was no help. Nobody else came to force or stop that drive to the basket. Just a horrible way to end the game for the Pacers.
I would agree. You know, I have to say, for my Are You Kidding Me segment, I talk about the San Antonio Spurs, and everyone in San Antonio knows this, and everyone like me who has a vested interest that has bet the San Antonio Spurs to win the Western Conference knows that the Spurs get no respect. I've been singing a song about this for quite some time, and a couple of my cronies said, Scott, did you know that they didn't get respect when you made the bet? Yes, I did. But I'm still going to cry and whine and complain about it because it's sickening. David Stern has had a vendetta against Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs for quite some time, and it's obvious. I'm telling you that flagrant foul in the last game. Thank goodness the Spurs are tough enough mentally, a lot more mentally tough than me perhaps, to overcome that and win in overtime because I'm still having a tough time letting go. So it's amazing. I mean, look at it.
But had they gotten the respect, you wouldn't have your big future.
Thank you. That's a great observation. So exactly. I love betting. So you
can benefit from this.
Absolutely, and I do. Okay, I make my living doing this, okay? So, a case in point, you triggered something here. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, the number one team that was the worst against the spread, if you blindly bet against this team, ATS against the spread, you would have made a lot of money. They were the worst ATS spread team in all of basketball, the Los Angeles Lakers. High-profile teams are overpriced, overvalued. The obscure, ugly teams like the Memphis Grizzlies or the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs that same year, 2 years ago, number one ATS against the spread. We talked before on this show, out of all the teams in the National Basketball Association, the Memphis Grizzlies were a dead under team. 48 of their 80 games went under. 67% of their games went over or under over a 6-month period. So oftentimes underdogs are undervalued. I talked about before on this show a year or two ago where the Dallas Cowboys were projected to get to the Super Bowl. When Dallas hosted the Super Bowl, Jerry Jones said, listen, my Cowboys will be hosting the big game.
Oops.
Well, the first 8 games of the season, the Cowboys were 1-7, and they were high profile, and they were projected to do extremely well. But ATS against the spread, and that's all we care about, cashing tickets here on the show, 1-7. But the Detroit Lions, 7-1.
Right.
The St. Louis Rams, 6-2. So 13-3, knowing when to get on, when to get off. So you take ugly teams. It takes balls to step up to the bet window and say, listen, $2,200 to win $2,000 on the Detroit Lions. And give me the Rams while you're at it. But you would be rich.
But you cannot have a drink ticket.
Well, you can, but we limit you to 2. And
One
then
per
when you
$1,000.
cash out for $8,000, when you cash out, you say, listen, I'd like to get a drink. Oh, no. We do not give drink tickets only when you make a bet. That's documented. Station casinos. Station properties. That's STATION They will limit you to 4 drink tickets per day, whether you're betting a $5 or $10 parlay or if you're betting $10,000 a day. Oh, no, you've had enough. That's enough. That's too much.
But you're not a drinker anyway. You give these over to other degenerate drinkers.
I do, and I attach a business card, Pritchard'sPicks.com, okay? I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. But because at the end of the day, there's only so much pineapple juice a guy can eat or drink.
Exactly, yes.
But isn't that amazing? You can bet $10,000 a day, and when you cash out, because it's a few hours later.
So boxers have cauliflower ears, you have pineapple ears.
Pretty much. Okay. So you can imagine at the end of the day, you come back to cash out, maybe socialize, grab some food at the Yard House or something at Red Rock, and you cash out for $8,000, $10,000. You're looking for one measly drink one time. Oh, no. We only give those out when you make the bet. It's like, oh, well, I forgot to ask for a couple of drink tickets then, so would you just cut me some slack? Hold on. Hey, supervisor, come on. They can't even make a decision to give me a yellow ticket.
Well, it's because they're going to lose their job. Just over broke. Right?
You're a good listener.
And be broke. Not really, but
that's pretty good. That's a good callback. In the comedy world, they call that a callback. Right. Well done, Brett. Have you thought about doing some comedy?
My wife would say, "Who are you? Have we met before?"
This is the Odds Couple on KSHP AM 1400 Radio in the heart of Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. Scott Pritchard, professional sports bettor handicapper with the GM of KSHP, Brett Grant. Together, we are the Odds Couple Monday through Friday. Brett is with me every Thursday. Anthony Padilla will be here tomorrow. He's been in a drunken stupor. I mean, I was with the guy Friday night. He lost for the first time in months. Granted, he's only here once a week. He cherry picks, all right? But you know what? You can't argue with success. ATS against the spread. He won like 17-1. I'm telling you, I love this show because the shows are archived, live and worldwide, Vegas Video Network. You want documentation? Check out the shows. If you have no life and you want to go week by week over the past 17, 18 weeks, you'll see what Anthony has done. But Anthony was devastated that he lost.
Has he recovered yet?
I'm not so sure.
It's been 6 days.
I don't think he'll ever recover. I really don't. I said, listen, man, you wouldn't make a very good professional sports bettor. You have to accept losing. Right. You have to have thick skin. All you can do is all you can do. You have to do the right thing, get the best of it. The rest will take care of itself. And 55, 60% winners, you're making a very good living. Definitely. Easier said than done. Hardly anyone can do that. The break-even point, as we know, is 52.4%. That means you have to be right 11 times out of 21. What makes you think that you can guess correctly a coin toss 11 times out of 21? Because the sportsbooks will have you believe that's why the number is there, to make a 50-50 prop. They take 10% of the losses.
Good stuff.
Anything that you want to ask? We have about 8 minutes left.
Well, our good friend Steve had a live chat question. He said over at Harrah's he gets 25 drink tickets. He drank all night, so maybe you should go to Harrah's and make a bet.
Harrah's is one of the worst sports. They'll toss you. If you're a professional sports bettor, you will get tossed. Don't ask me how I know. Okay. My runners, it's called messenger betting, which is illegal, but you can get around that simply by saying, hey, they're in on the action. Okay, so you're legally not able to make bets for anyone but you, but if you tell the powers that be when they're harassing you because you're an advantage player and every single time you make a bet, they threaten to toss you and escort you to the top of the roof at the Wynn Hotel Casino, you simply say, listen, as I've told all my runners in the past, that you have a piece of the pie. We're partners. So legally, you get around that. Maybe I'm sharing too much information. Too much is not enough.
Well,
we're an open book here at the Odds
You're
Couple.
making friends at all the places, that's for sure. Now, let me ask you this. Parlays, we have a couple. We still have to do our right side, obviously, as well. But you have talked about not playing parlays, where we know the average Joe loves to play parlays, and the casinos love the parlay cards during football season. Tell us why you are adamantly against parlays.
First and foremost, the sportsbook make their money on parlays and teasers. Now, the thing, mathematically, I'm a value guy, so mathematically it's illogical to play parlays. I've never played a parlay, and I'll explain why. And I know I will explain this, and you're going to leave here and go make a parlay bet, because I know that a double cheeseburger from BK is not good for my health. I'm going to have one anyway. But at least understand why it's a sucker bet and why casinos love parlay players. A two-team parlay ATS against the spread will pay you 13-5, which is plus 260. So for a $100 bet on a two-team, I'm trying to pick one winner. You're going to pick 2, 3, 5?
Right.
Mathematically, it makes no sense. Here's why. A two-team parlay, 13-5, which is plus 260. So a $100 bet, and you win, you net $260. Congratulations. The bad news is the real odds are 3-1, so you just gave away $40. Now, as you go up the ladder, so does the screw job. Meaning, a 5-team parlay will pay you 20-1 odds. So you bet $100 and you hit 5 winners. Congratulations, you just netted $2,000. That's the good news. The bad news, the real odds are 32-1. So you just gave away $1,200. Even when you win, you lose. If you play parlays, you're a sucker. Now, you don't want to hear that because just about everyone who bets parlays, but just about everyone who bets loses. So do what the professionals do, and I'll give a little insight here. People do this because they're in love with investing a little to get back a lot. Right. Well, you can get the true odds that I'm talking about on a 2-team parlay 3-1. All you do is you bet your best game Saturday morning. You take your money, you bet it. After it wins, you take it all and you bet it on your second game. You win. Now you have true odds, 3-1. But it's amazing how people are lazy. They're like water. They follow the path of least resistance. And parlay bettors, same thing. There is an exception, and I hesitate to share this, because mathematically speaking, if you are a 60% handicapper, it makes sense to bet parlays. But how many 60% handicappers do you know? Well, 100% of the sports bettors I know will tell you that they're 60%, but in essence, that's not true. I mean, I've been in the Superbook contest 3 years. 2 of the 3 years, I finished in the top 10. My record was the same. It was right at 61%. But, I mean, again, if I'm finishing in the top 10 between 400 to 500 people, again, that means 380 people are not hitting 61%, right, and they're anteing up $1,500 for the 17-week contest.
We can expand on that as we get closer to the football season with these contests.
Right on.
We got to get to the right side.
I can't wait. This is exciting because we put money into your pocket as Brett and I together put you on the right side.
Right side today, yesterday, I think I lost. I think Wednesday, according to one of our live chat people, is my new Tuesday. So let's move on very quickly. This time I'm going to go to the frozen. I'm going to go to the frozen pond. Cold steel on ice, as they would call it. An original 6 matchup. That means the first 6 teams that ever played the game of hockey, just so you know, Scott.
I have no – is this a foreign language you're speaking?
It is. The Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings.
Is this WNBA?
The Winged Wheels and the Blackhawks. I'm going to go to the total in this one, over under 5 minus 115. The Blackhawks have played only 2 games thus far in the postseason that have gone over this total of 5, and I think this is another defensive series. They gave up 3 goals in their last game. That's not good for the Blackhawks. I look for a very low-scoring game today in the Blackhawk team who needs to win. I think you'll see a much better defensive effort out of the Blackhawks tonight. I think you're looking at a 2-1, 3-1 hockey game on the side of the Blackhawks. I like the under in this game, under 5.
Before we get to my right side, let's recap what I did or did not do yesterday on a great streak, 11-3. My last 14 games, ATS against the spread betting, NBA sides, totals, baseball totals, an occasional dog, an occasional small favorite in baseball. Yesterday, had the Giants at home against the Nats. I love free baseball when I'm there and I don't have action, but I hate extra innings in baseball because it's totally random. It went extra innings. The Nats win 2-1. Nats win. I lose. I'm 11-4 in my last 15 plays. I'm just going to share with you what I bet last night. The Angels taking on the Kansas City Royals in Kansas City today. Last night I bet under 9. This morning, I wake up before coming to the studio. It's 8.5. A professional sports bettor would never play under 8.5 if you could have had under 9 last night. Jacob knows I emailed him my play last night, 9. Today it's 8.5. I cannot respectfully give that to you. I would not play under 8.5. I would not expect you to do so. All I can do is tell you I played under 9, Kansas City Angels. That's what I'm going with. I can only tell you what I bet and where my money is.
And it's just not available for anybody else right now, although it potentially could get there, but doubtful.
It's such a key number, and the value's already lost, and it's rare that it will go against me, especially at this late date. You've been listening to The Odds Couple on KSHP AM 1400 Radio. Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant. We're here Monday through Friday from 10A to 11A Las Vegas time, live and worldwide. Vegas Video Network, live chat always up and running. The studio lines open 702-221-7283. Thank you to Troy for the live chat question today. For Brett Grant, I'm Scott Pritchard. Anthony Padilla joins me tomorrow. We'll catch you then. Good luck and goodbye.